Hello tubers, this is Kurt with Edibles and Exotics coming to you from sunny Mesa, Arizona, and today I'm going to show you how to graft different varieties onto a mulberry tree. So I'm standing in front of this mulberry tree here. If you've watched my other videos, you know a little history on it, but I'll reiterate on that. So I got this mulberry tree last summer. A guy on OfferUp had a listing for it. He didn't want it anymore. He said, free, you dig it up, it's yours. So my daughter and I went down there immediately and we dug it up. It was about 3 feet tall. It was a Morris Alba, so a white mulberry. It was sold to him as a female tree. And I was all excited. Free mulberry tree, 3 feet tall, growing great. And so I planted it and it got pretty big. It's probably about, I would say, maybe 10 feet, 11 feet tall right now, and multi-branch, multi-trunk, really beautiful tree. The leaves are great for making tea. That's a plus. But this spring, we're starting to come up on spring, and it's starting to bud out, and it first only put out male flowers. So I was kind of not too happy about that, but then it started putting out female flowers about a week ago. So in the meantime, I decided, well, I don't want a male mulberry tree, and I'm growing these for fruit production. So it is a hermaphrodite, so it is putting out male and female. So I bought a bunch of different mulberry cuttings. So I bought Black Persian, Texas red mulberries, Northern red mulberries, and Himalayan mulberries. And I got a couple of cuttings of each. And what I'm going to do with this is on these main runners coming up, I got 4 of them, and they branch out pretty close to where they come out. So I'm going to graft on one variety onto each main runner. So we're going to have 4 varieties on each main runner, and we're going to let the grafts take, and then probably in another 2 months, we're going to air layer what's above those grafted cuttings to remove those. And in the meantime, we'll be able to harvest the berries. And right now, the sap is flowing under the bark because it's starting to wake up. It's putting out these buds and fruits. So this is the perfect time to graft. So in the grafting process, we're going to do lateral bark grafts. So I'm going to show you how to do those. And what we're going to do is, since this gets full sun all day, we're going to wrap those completely in parafilm. And we're going to bind them really tight with electrical tape so no air or moisture can get in there. And then we're going to cover them with tin foil. So they're going to need complete shade. And right now, since they're in full sun, they're not going to get that. So the tin foil is going to provide them with a shady environment, and it's going to allow them to grow without drying out and fuse via the cambium layer to the white mulberry tree that we're grafting onto. All right, guys, so one of the first steps, what you got to do is you got to get these scions prepared before you graft them on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some parafilm, but just kind of like a waxy plastic, and we're going to start at the bottom. And you can leave about an inch or so exposed, and you just want to wrap these guys up like a candy cane. Overlap about 50% of the tape. So just keep spinning it and keep a little pressure on it because it's got to stretch. So we're just going to get this guy wrapped all the way up. This is going to lock the moisture in and keep the cutting from drying out, or scion from drying out, I should say. And the tin foil that we put around it to shade it is going to keep the sun off of it, which will keep evaporation down even more. So when you get to the top, you just keep twisting and then pull it off, and that's what you're left with. And then at the bottom here is where we're going to make our cuts, and we're going to shave off this bud and do a chip graft with it. So any of these little buds like that, you could cut off and save, and you could do a bud graft, chip bud, whatever you want to call it. And you could do that in another spot on the tree, and you won't have to waste them. So that's it, guys. Just wrapped up like that, and that's ready to go on the tree. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I made these labels. So we're going to put Northern Red on this one, and then I got 4 others that we're going to put the other varieties on. So we're going to do, like I said, a lateral bark graft. So for this, you need a grafting knife or something really sharp, razor knife, or just a really, really sharp knife. And it's a pretty simple process. I'll do one. I'll show you how to hold it on tightly. The main key here is blocking moisture, like rainwater or air, from getting into the area that you're trying to fuse the two cambium layers together. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a T-shaped cut, right? It's going to be one line going straight across and one going down, and then we're going to prepare the scion. I'll show you exactly how to do that. And then we're just going to slip it in, and we're going to tape it up really good and try to get the most cambium contact. So for this, I'm going to do 3 grafts on here. So we have this branch here, we have this branch here, and we have this branch over here. Probably going to do. What I'm trying to do, like I said, is graft these onto these branches. And once these grafts take, then we're going to air layer these branches off, and we're going to root those out, pot them up, and sell them to someone else who wants a mulberry. All right, guys, so we're going to do this one first right now. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut the scion to look like this. So we're going to have a long cut this way, and then a short one on the back side, tapering down to a point. And we're going to want to anchor this guy into here. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our first cut. All right. So right about here. All right. We're going to cut this guy this way, horizontally. And then we're going to run the knife. All right. So we're going to need to leave a little pocket. And you can see the sap is starting to flow. So we want to be right about there. So right here, we're going to make a lateral cut going up from here to our T that we made. All right. And then we're going to peel this bark away. We try to open this up. We need 2 little flaps. All right. You want to use the back side of the knife for this because you don't want to cut into it. So get this flap opened up. Spread it apart. We have to make this cut a little bit wider around the back side. All right. Spread this open. All right. All right. He's wrapped up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the parafilm and we're going to hold this guy and tightly wrap him. You got to go back through the top sometimes. Just make sure you got a good seal. And keep wrapping in the same direction. This has to be as tight as you can make it, but we are going to go back over it with electrical tape. So that's not going to be that big of a deal if it's not super tight right now. We'll do one more piece. Just make sure we seal out any water from getting in there. All right, that guy's on there. Now we're going to take some electrical tape, and this is going to pull it really, really tight. All right, let's start at the top. This you have to stretch really, really tight. And it's not going to rip like the parafilm. The goal here is to push out any air pockets and get that scion cambium layer to really suck onto the, or really contact the cambium layer on the tree. All right, a little more electrical tape. All right. And we're going to do a little bit more up top just to seal it. Then we're going to wrap it in the tin foil. All right, guys. So that's on there. Really good. So now all we're going to do is we're going to take some tin foil and we're just going to cover it very loosely to seal out any rainwater and to block the sun. So we're going to take this tin foil here. We're going to wrap it around this branch. Like I said, very loosely. We're going to wrap it around the top of the branch to create a little umbrella. But we're going to leave a little bit of space for light to get in, because these scions, they need light to grow. So let's wrap this like this. All right. So that's on there. We got space for air to get in, and we got space for light to get in. So I'm going to do a couple more, and then we'll move on to another branch that might be a little bit easier to see, and I'll keep showing you how I do it. So guys, this one here, you can see how it runs so close to this one. It's all taped up. It's ready to go. I just got to cover it in tin foil, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take another branch. This is off a moringa tree. I'm going to separate it a little bit. And then I'll wrap some more tape around it just to make sure it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to cover it in tin foil. So this is, if you wanted to do a parallel branch to that, this is the trick right here. Just wedge a piece in there. Once it's nice and tightly grafted, wrap some more tape around it to make sure it's nice and tight. And then when this is ready to be air layered, it shouldn't be an issue. This branch should be a little more flexible, and we'll be able to flex it up and out of the way of the air layer. All right, guys, so we're going to move on to the Himalayan mulberry cuttings. And like I said before, we got a little tag down here that we labeled them with. You can see it. There we go, Himalayan, so we know exactly which one's which, so we don't forget. So these Himalayan mulberries, they already have parafilm on them. Got them from a guy on eBay in California, and they already have buds going. So we're going to be grafting down here, so this bud we're going to have to cut off, okay? And what we're going to do with this bud is we're going to bud graft onto the branch as well. So I'm going to show you how to do that. That'll be a little bonus. So basically what we want to do here is we're going to cut this guy. All right, we want to save the bark and the bud. So we're going to cut this off. We're going to put this aside for now. And then we want to get our scion here, and we want to trim it down about 2/3 of the way. All right. See how thin that is? We got to go a little bit more. You want to get rid of that heartwood there. All right. We're going to get rid of this parafilm down here. Pick that up later. All right. Now we're going to do our back cut. All right. So we get a nice straight cut. We get a nice taper. I'll take just a little bit more off of there. You want to get these cuts front and back as parallel as possible. So this guy, I think we're going to put him, oh geez, I don't know, like maybe right about here, right on the top. We're going to squeeze him in really good. Okay, so want to get our cut somewhere right about here. Okay. Get this guy there. We're gonna just do a little wedge cut on the top. We're going to cut down. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do our downward cut. We need our scion again to measure. So he's going to be down probably about this far right here. So our cut's going to go to like right about here. Okay. Back side of the knife. Lift the bark. Lift the bark on the other side. Here we got our little pocket made. I think we're going to have to cut this off just a little bit more. Got to be a little bit deeper. So our scion fits in there nice and snug. All right. With these guys, I do like to rough up the backside a little bit, just to get a little more cambium exposed. Just on the edges, just expose the green a little bit. Now we're going to slide this guy down in here. All right, we should be good right about there. Again, we're going to get the parafilm out. It's always easier, guys, if you just rip off sections about maybe 10 inches or so to a foot and just start wrapping. You have to pull this a little tight as you're wrapping because you want to get a good seal all around the edges. You don't want it loose. So that's our first wrap. I'm going to do another wrap here. And again, we want to go in between the two. It's very important to make sure you seal out all the air in the water. And one more piece and we should be good. All right. Now we're going to go with the electrical tape again. Again, the electrical tape is to pull it nice and tight together. The reason I put on the grafting tape or parafilm first is because the electrical tape is kind of hard to get off if it's just stuck to the bark. So as you're doing this, pull it really tight, top and bottom. So pulling it tight there, pulling it tight there. All right, I'm going to put one little piece on there just to seal it really good. And again, guys, this one's sticking too close, so we're going to space him out. And that's nice and tight. So that's on there. You can move the whole tree with that. We're going to foil it up. Remember, we need shade and water protection with the foil. So sun and water protection. So the sun is that way all day, goes in an arc this way behind the cutting. So we're going to wrap this way. We're going to close the top a little bit. We're going to leave just a little spot open here, just so some light can get in. All right, and now we're going to do this branch and the one behind it with the other two Himalayan mulberry cuttings that we have. All right, guys, so these are our black Persian. This is our little black Persian tag over here. And as you can see, they call it black mulberry because the buds are actually black on these. Red mulberries are going to be red, and white mulberries they're not going to be white. They're kind of a greenish color. So that's kind of the difference there. All right, guys, so I've kind of run out of space on this tree. I filmed the graft for the bud, but it didn't come out too good, so I'm going to redo it here. So we're going to put this guy right here. All right, so we're going to make a cut this way. All right, we're going to make another cut. Let's hold him up there and see exactly where we need to be. All right. So we're going to make a cut right here at the bottom. That's where he's going to go. So we're going to do another cut right there. All right. Right there. And then since this guy has a little bit of a point at the top, you can see right here, at this end here, there is a point and the other end is flat. That's just the way it cut. So we're going to cut a little bit above the top line. So we're going to go right in here. We're going to go right across here. But we're going to go a little bit above so we can insert him. So now using the back side of the knife, so we don't tear into the bark, we're just going to lift it a little bit. All right, lift him up. We're going to do the same on the other side. Lift this up, and lift this up. Now comes the fun part of trying to get it inserted. So we're going to probably do one side at a time here. We're going to get this lifted up. We're going to slide him in. All right, he's in there. Now we're going to wrap it with the parafilm. And again, we're going to try to cover this by 50% overlap. So here's our first line, here's our second line, so we just got a little bit of overlap. And then we're going to go back around one time just to make sure we got all the moisture locked in there and no air. All right, now we're just going to put a little bit of electrical tape on there just to make sure it's nice and tight. So the bud's right about there. So let's see, we'll do it on the top here on this one. And that's it. He's on there, nice and tight. That's how you do a bark graft, so you don't have to waste those little bits that you cut off when you prepare your scion to be grafted on via a lateral bark graft. So that's it, guys. We're all done doing our lateral bark grafts and bud grafting onto this white mulberry tree here. So now we have 5 varieties growing in one. And like I said, all these branches here above the grafts, eventually these are going to get air layered off. Probably in another 2 months, we're going to start the air layers on that. I'll do an update video on the grafts, and then I'll do a how-to probably in the same video on how to air layer those. And right now it's February 19th, Sunday of 2023. Our grow season starts second week of March. So that's when we're completely frost free. History-wise, there's never been frost after the second week of March. So this is the perfect time to do this. The plants are starting to wake up. So these grafts, they'll probably take and start growing within a month from now. We'll let them grow for another month and then we'll air layer. So that's probably going to be about 2 months from now. And with the air layering, we're not too concerned. This produces enough shade on its own to shade those air layering pods or bags, whichever method we choose to use. So it won't be an issue with them overheating. We can just wrap them with tin foil and then put another layer of tin foil loosely around that to give it some shade. So that's basically how you do it. If you guys have any more questions about exactly what I did, it was kind of tough doing it. I didn't want to knock off any of the mulberries. I was trying to be very careful, although I think I knocked off about 1,000 of them. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. If anything wasn't clear enough, let me know. Any sort of criticism of my videos is good for criticism, I see. There's always room for improvement. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, hit the bell. The channel's growing quick, and the more it grows, the harder I'm going to work at it. So until the next video, keep growing, guys.